Life often takes unexpected turns, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
One moment, you think you're on a clear path, and then boom, everything shifts, especially when it's about the health of someone close.
Yeah, that can really pull the rug out from under you.
Well, today we're doing a deep dive into exactly that kind of experience. It's based on The Unexpected Journey, the powerful new memoir by Heming Willis.
Right, and this isn't just, another celebrity book.
No, not at all. It's incredibly raw, very honest. It's about navigating the really complex, often heartbreaking world of caregiving.
Specifically after her husband, Bruce Willis, was diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia, FTD.
Right, FTD.
Yeah.
And maybe for folks less familiar, FTD isn't just one thing, is it?
No, it's more of an umbrella term. Covers a group of brain disorders where the frontal and temporal lobes degenerate progressively.
Okay, so that affects things like personality, behavior.
Language, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is key here because Bruce's specific diagnosis, primary progressive aphasia, or PPA, mainly hits language first.
Gotcha. So our mission today really is to unpack the key insights Emma shares about FTD itself, the emotional side of caregiving.
And also those crucial strategies for self-preservation and finding support.
Exactly. So whether you're a caregiver or you know someone who is, or maybe you're just curious about finding strength when things get tough, this deep dive should offer a really valuable roadmap.
Definitely.
So let's start at the beginning. Emma and Bruce's story. It didn't start in a typical Hollywood way.
No, it seems quite serendipitous almost.
She met him back in 2005 through her personal trainer, and she says she was pretty blasé about it.
Right, because she was actually engaged to someone else at the time.
But Bruce, apparently he told his trainer right then, I'm going to marry that girl one day.
Talk about conviction. It does hint at that deep connection they eventually formed.
It does, and what's fascinating is how different they seemed.
Yeah, she really highlights that contrast. Emma describes herself as a rule follower, needing control, a plan.
A self-confessed worrier.
Mm-hmm. Well, Bruce was the total opposite, the rule breaker, unpredictable, always finding joy.
Opposites attract, I guess.
Well, it seemed to work for them. They got married in 2009, and that foundation, built on such different ways of seeing the world probably became really important later on.
Yeah, I imagine so. And their family life sounds quite rich, too. It's a blended family.
Right. Bruce has 3 older daughters with Demi Moore, and then his 2 younger daughters with Emma, Mabel, and Evelyn.
And Emma mentions how welcoming Demi and her daughters were early on. Wide open arms, huge warm smiles. That must have meant a lot.
Absolutely. That kind of built-in support system is invaluable, especially, looking ahead to what they'd face.
And interestingly, Emma admits she wasn't really a Bruce Willis fan before meeting him.
Yeah, that's quite candid. Said she'd only seen Armageddon.
So her connection was clearly with Bruce, the person, not the movie star.
Exactly. Which makes the story of his illness even more poignant, doesn't it? Her love was for him, the individual, as the disease started to subtly change who he was.
Right. So let's talk about those changes. The memoir gets into the really subtle signs, the whispers of FTD, as she calls them.
Yeah. The official diagnosis came in 2022, first aphasia, then later the FTD, specifically PPA, that language-focused type.
But it wasn't like a switch flipped. It was gradual, disorienting.
Hugely disorienting.
Okay.
And that's a key point Emma makes, how insidious FTD can be at the start. She initially felt like something was just off in their relationship.
She mentioned thinking it was crazy marital issues.
Right. And subtle shifts in his personality, miscommunications, him remembering things differently.
She wondered about his hearing loss, too, right? From that Die Hard stunt.
Yeah, she considered that. Or just thought maybe he was checking out sometimes, especially at family dinners with the kids.
Which must have been confusing, given how connected he was to his daughters before.
Exactly. But that quietness, that withdrawal at dinner, that wasn't him being checked out emotionally. It was likely cognitive overload.
Cognitive overload.
Yeah, imagine trying to process too much noise, too many conversations, too many faces all at once with PPA. Your brain just freezes. It can't filter all that input.
Wow. Okay, that makes sense. So it wasn't disinterest. It was his brain struggling.
Precisely. An early sign of the language processing issues.
And that detail about his childhood stutter returning, that's heartbreaking.
It really is. Something he'd managed his whole adult life through acting. For that to come back.
It must have been a really personal, unsettling sign for her.
Definitely. And it just underscores how subtle and individual these early FTD signs can be, which is why diagnosis is so damn hard.
Yeah, the sources really emphasize that. FTD gets missed or misdiagnosed all the time.
Oh, frequently. Mistaken for a midlife crisis, depression, bipolar disorder.
Because the changes like apathy, irritability, maybe being rude or withdrawn, people might just think that's a personality shift or a choice.
Exactly. Not realizing it's a neurological disease, literally, as Emma puts it, dismantling his brain. It makes you wonder how many families go through years of confusion.
And there's that other really tough part, anosognosia.
Yes, anosognosia, crucial concept. It means the person with FTD often has no awareness, like zero insight, that anything is wrong with them neurologically.
So they can't seek help themselves?
Nope. The burden falls entirely on the family, the loved ones, to notice, to push for answers, to advocate.
And that diagnostic process itself sounds agonizing. 2-3 years sometimes.
It often is. Years of confusion, frustration, doctors perhaps dismissing concerns. It takes a huge toll.
So when Emma finally understood that was what was happening, the disease, not Bruce, that must have been devastating, but maybe clarifying too.
Absolutely clarifying. It shifts everything. And it fuels her advice to others. Trust your gut.
Right. Keep pushing if something feels wrong. Even if tests are normal initially, don't let concerns be dismissed.
Because recognizing it is the disease is the first step towards navigating what comes next.
Which brings us to caregiving, or as Emma prefers to call it, being a care partner.
Yeah, that shift in terminology is really significant, isn't it? She learned it from Teepa Snow, the dementia care specialist.
Why the preference for care partner?
Well, for Emma, caregiver felt like it created a distance, like she was just providing a service. Care partner implies they're still on a journey together, collaboratively.
Maintaining that sense of relationship, even as it changes.
Exactly. It honors their connection, their shared humanity. It's less isolating, potentially more empowering, a subtle but really important shift in mindset.
That makes sense. Partnership is key, especially given the immense stress involved. Emma got a real wake-up call from a neurologist, didn't she?
She did. A pretty stark message, basically saying sometimes the caregiver dies before the person they're caring for because of the sheer stress.
Wow, that's heavy, especially with young kids.
Right. That really hit home for her. It forced her to prioritize self-care, not as a luxury, but as essential. Self-preserving, she called it, not selfish.
A matter of survival, really, for her and the family.
Absolutely critical, and it's a message for all care partners out there.
Emma was also really open about her own struggles, her own depression diagnosis after Bruce's FTD became clear.
Yeah, incredibly candid, which is so helpful for others. She talked about finding ways to cope therapy, definitely.
But also building that community. Friends, other caregivers.
Yes, a strong support network, people who get it. And finding new outlets for herself, like tennis and gardening, discovering the joy in learning something new even then.
Finding those cracks of light, as she puts it.
Exactly. It's an active process, cultivating moments of joy or peace amidst the difficulty.
And part of that support is learning to ask for help, which she really stresses.
Saying it's okay to ask. And not just vaguely, but being specific.
Like, can you organize a meal train? Or could you sit with Bruce for a bit?
Precisely. It makes it easier for people to help meaningfully. Takes the guesswork out for them.
That's such practical advice. Because people often want to help, but don't know how.
Right. And beyond friends and family, she found huge value in support groups. Connecting with other FTD families through organizations like the AFTD.
What did that connection provide?
Validation, mostly. Normalizing those really difficult feelings, guilt, shame, anger, realizing you're not alone in it. It combats that intense isolation, which she rightly calls a killer.
And she also got practical tips from experts like Teepa Snow, things that made daily interactions easier.
Yeah, really specific, helpful things, like avoiding wearing all black clothing.
Why is that?
Because dark areas can sometimes look like holes or gaps to someone with dementia, which can be frightening or confusing.
Oh, interesting. I never would have thought of that.
Me neither. Another tip was standing slightly sideways when talking to Bruce, rather than face-to-face.
Less confrontational, maybe.
Exactly. Less intense, more reassuring, especially if someone is experiencing anxiety or perceptual changes due to FTD. Small things that can make a big difference in connection and calm.
It shows how much learning and adapting is involved, which leads to some really tough decisions she had to make.
Yeah, the memoir delves into those as well. Probably one of the hardest was moving Bruce into a second home nearby.
To allow for 24-hour care. That couldn't have been easy.
No. And she talks about getting judgment for it, which sadly happens.
But her reasoning was complex, wasn't it? It wasn't just about his care needs.
Right. It was also very much about their daughters, Mabel and Evelyn. The family home, which Bruce used to love, filling with noise and music.
Had become quiet.
Yeah.
Restrictive, to manage his condition.
Exactly. No more playdates or sleepovers in the same way. Emma felt strongly that Bruce would want the girls to have a home focused on their needs, their childhood.
So moving him allowed them to have a more normal environment.
That was the goal. Prioritizing their well-being and development even amidst such a difficult situation. It was a decision rooted in love for everyone involved, thinking about the long term.
That takes incredible foresight. And despite the verbal challenges with PPA, she found ways to connect.
Yes, she talks about them having their own language now.
What does that look like?
Just being present, sitting together, walking together, listening patiently as he tries to communicate in his own way. It's about presence and shared feeling, not just words.
It really speaks to how love adapts.
It does, and it connects to that idea of ambiguous loss she mentions.
Right. Grieving someone who is still physically there, but changing.
Exactly. It's a constant, complex grief. Grieving the person they were while still cherishing the person who is here now. She says she's so grateful that we still have him.
Holding on to that gift of time.
It's a negotiation between deep sadness and deep gratitude, day by day, something many care partners experience.
And how are the girls handling it all? They're quite young.
She says they're coping very well, describes them as brave and compassionate.
That's amazing. How does she approach telling them?
She was truthful, but learned to wait for their questions, not overwhelm them. And they even came up with a mnemonic for FTD. Fantastic turtles dancing.
That's wonderful. A way to make it less scary, maybe.
Yeah, and just remember it. She says they meet their father where he is at with no expectations and just love.
Wow. Kids can be incredibly resilient.
They really can, and clearly Emma's approach fostered that.
And through all this, she's consciously finding joy in nature, gardening.
Yeah, making space for those cracks of light, as she calls them, spending time with the girls, with Bruce. It's an active effort not to let the sadness totally consume everything.
Which brings us to why she wrote the book. It seems bigger than just her own story.
Oh, definitely. Her main motivation seems to be providing that roadmap for others, a resource for caregivers facing FTD.
Raising awareness, advocating for earlier diagnosis, more support.
Exactly. She even said she'd be okay if FTD became known as Bruce Willis's disease, if that attention brought more research, funding, and help for future families.
That's powerful, turning personal pain into advocacy.
It really is. And she asks his fans to send prayers, light, healing love. It's a call for collective compassion.
So wrapping up this deep dive, Emma Heming Willis's memoir, The Unexpected Journey. It's just packed with insight, isn't it?
Absolutely. A really honest look at the challenges of FTD and caregiving.
We've touched on recognizing those subtle early signs, the absolute necessity of self-care. Remember, self-preserving, not selfish.
Right. And the power of community, asking for help, making those incredibly tough calls with love.
It really shows that navigating these unexpected paths takes immense resilience.
And courage. Courage to ask for help. Courage to redefine what your normal looks like.
Her story is a reminder that even when facing progressive loss, you can still find strength, connection.
And those moments of joy and meaning, they're still possible.
So maybe a final thought for you listening. Think about the unexpected journeys happening around you. Maybe ones you see, maybe ones you don't.
Yeah. With this understanding, how could you offer more meaningful support? Or, if you're on a tough path yourself,
how might you use some of these strategies, reaching out, self-care, finding those cracks of light to build your own strength and hope?